Does gaining weight protect you from osteoporosis? The surprising link between fat and bone. Hello, and welcome to Pedagogo. And here on this channel, I make videos based on scientific research, explained in a clear and accessible way. Today we're diving into a fascinating topic at the crossroads of bone health, obesity, and metabolism. The relationship between fat tissue and bone tissue. For a long time, bones were thought to be just a structural support for movement. But recent research shows that bones are also endocrine organs. They produce molecules called osteokines that help regulate energy metabolism and communicate with other tissues like fat. On the other side, fat tissue isn't just for energy storage. It's also considered an endocrine gland because it releases proteins and molecules called adipokines, such as leptin and adiponectin, which can directly influence bone. So, what happens when these two systems, bone and fat, interact, especially under conditions like obesity? Bone remodeling is a dynamic process. Osteoclasts break down old bone, and osteoblasts build new bone. The balance between these two processes is what keeps our bones strong. When that balance is lost, osteoporosis can develop, a condition that weakens bones and increases the risk of fractures. Today, it's estimated that 1 in 3 women and 1 in 5 men over the age of 50 will suffer a fracture related to osteoporosis. And here's where obesity comes in. For years, scientists believed that obesity protected against osteoporosis because carrying extra weight meant more stress on the bones, which was thought to stimulate bone growth. But the story is more complex. Visceral fat, the kind that builds up around the organs, produces inflammatory cytokines like IL-6 and TNF, which actually increase bone resorption. On the other hand, subcutaneous fat, which sits under the skin, seems to have a more protective effect. For example, studies in young women show that those with more subcutaneous fat tend to have higher bone density, while those with more visceral fat have lower bone density. Now let's talk about 2 key adipokines: leptin and adiponectin. Leptin, also known as the satiety hormone, can have both positive and negative effects on bone. At high levels, it may inhibit bone formation and promote inflammation, damaging bone and cartilage. But in other situations, it can stimulate osteoblast activity and support bone matrix formation. Adiponectin, on the other hand, is seen as protective. It's anti-inflammatory and generally helps maintain bone mass. However, some in vitro studies have found that it can also increase bone resorption, depending on the environment. In people with obesity, adiponectin levels tend to be low, which may contribute to poorer bone health. Another important concept is osteocalcin, an osteokine produced by osteoblasts that regulates energy metabolism. Its undercarboxylated form, OCNC, stimulates insulin secretion and adiponectin production, linking bone health directly with metabolic health. Research by Lee et al. 2007 and Farron et al. 2008 found that osteocalcin improves insulin sensitivity and may protect against metabolic diseases, again reinforcing the close link between bone and fat tissue. And we can't forget the rank-OPG axis, a key system that controls osteoclast activation. In obesity, pro-inflammatory cytokines can overstimulate this pathway, tipping the balance toward bone destruction. Is total body fat the most important factor here? Not exactly. Recent studies suggest that fat type and distribution matter more than the total amount. Women usually have more subcutaneous, gynoid fat, while men tend to have more visceral, android fat. But obesity can alter these patterns, creating harmful combinations, like women with high visceral fat or men with high peripheral fat. For example, Russell et al. 2010 found that young women with more visceral fat had lower bone density. In contrast, those with more subcutaneous fat had better bone mass. What about weight loss? While losing weight is generally good for metabolic health, it can reduce bone mineral density, BMD, especially if the weight is lost quickly or without proper nutrition. In postmenopausal women, bone loss after a 10% reduction in body weight can be double the normal annual rate. Why? Because losing fat reduces the levels of estrogen, leptin, and other hormones that support bone health. Plus, weight loss may increase calcium loss if dietary intake is insufficient. So, does obesity protect or damage your bones? The answer is, it depends. It depends on fat distribution, inflammation, activity level, diet, sex, age, and genetics. The balance between bone formation and breakdown is deeply complex and influenced by many factors. But one thing is clear. Both obesity and osteoporosis are rising public health concerns, and we need to understand how they're connected. This video is based on the article Hueso, Alteraciones Relacionadas con Obesidad by María Guadalupe Rico Rosillo and Gloria Berta Vega Robledo, published in the Revista de la Facultad de Medicina de la UNAM, México, 2021. You can read the full article in Spanish through the link in the description. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, rooted in scientific research and explained in clear terms, don't forget to subscribe to Pedagogo. Every week, we break down complex academic topics in a way that's accessible and relevant. See you in the next video. I'm Mao Chiunti, and I'm a pedagogue.